Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our PAC Week 9 battle against, I believe we're playing BadassFroslass, and I totally forget their team name. I think it's Indiana something. Really cool dude. He's having a great season. He's a great player, so definitely go check him out in the description below, as well as all the other coaches. And if you enjoyed today's Wi-Fi battle, be sure to drop a like on the video, as well as sub to the channel. We're on our way to 1,000. We've been having great support lately, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. Alright, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, as a little precursor, I'll give you a quick kind of team overview. I actually do have the builds for this one. Unlike my last few videos, if you've seen, all my teams got deleted, but thankfully Emil actually built me this team because I was running super behind and I totally forgot to build. So Emil built for me. He built me a pretty fun squad. Not as crazy heat as Emil typically goes, but he brought me some fun stuff, so I'm definitely excited. Big shouts to Emil. I'll link him in the description below as well. One of my favorite dudes in the community. He is a great player. He always brings some wacky stuff, and he's always a blast to watch. So definitely check out Emil. Big shouts to him for this this team here. But yeah, we have a pretty fun team here. We have an extra built sub 3 attacks Dragalges with Psychic Fangs, Fisher's Red, and Ice Fang. Pretty solid in this matchup if we can get behind us up on that Talk Specs. It actually exerts a ton of pressure. We have a Choice Scarf Latios, pretty simple. We have a Restock Prim with Flip Turn Moonblast, just to serve as a pivot into a Galarian Darmanitan and a Hydra that both didn't come, which is amazing for us. We have an SD Moldbreaker Drill with Lumberry. I believe we're SD, Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Rapid Spin. We have a leftover Regirock, which is probably our heat set of the week in the sense that it is Sand Tomb. And if you look at the team, you might be like, why is this Sand Tomb? It doesn't necessarily trap anything. But we're Sand Tomb, Rock Slide, Thunder Wave, and Stealth Rock. It's going to serve as a very reliable rocker, and Sand Tomb is going to allow us to trap in and really chip down things like Toxapex, things like the Porygon, and force them into recover turns, which is the most important thing because it allows me to free switches into things like Conk, Excadrill, Dragalges, Latios, things that might not necessarily want to come hard in on a lot of these things with a lot of different threatening moves that can come their way, but if they get that free switch in on that Toxapex, on that Porygon, we can really take advantage of his fat, which I think is a really cool tech here from Emil, so I really like that. And obviously, Flame Orb, 4 attacks, Guts, Conk here. Now, going into this game, looking at the team that he elected to go with, I actually elected to lead off with Dragalges. I saw it had a pretty advantageous lead against a potential Toxapex, against a potential Porygon, and against a potential Marowak if that is his rocker. And I realized I don't actually switch very well into Marowak, so I want to make sure that I at least have a lead that's going to force that thing out and kind of scare it away, which is really nice. As I believe I think about it for a little... Oh, no, I lead Prim. No, I don't. No, I don't. See, look, I think I changed my mind. Hold on. Yeah, see, I do change my mind. I know what I'm doing. But yeah, we're going to lead off with our Vicious. I feel like it exerts a ton of offensive pressure if we can force the correct switch-ins. As, yeah, we're going to go ahead and start this one off right here against BadassFroslass. Hopefully we can end the season with W. If we win, we have a chance at playoffs. If we don't, we're done. So it's win and we're in. Let's see if we can lead off and, you know, go work this sufficiently, as we are going to see the Toxapex lead, which is perfect for me, as this thing either has to be, like, Sludge Bomb offensive or just Sludge Bomb in general to potentially break my sub. And I actually don't know the calcs off the top of my head, but if he's not Sludge Bomb or anything like that, we can actually bully this thing pretty heavily. So that's obviously great. And then Ice Fang with an extra belt is going to 2-hit KO Maractus guaranteed, which is another clutch thing. Obviously being able to kind of take away that prediction game and you know, not have to deal with, like, you know, predicting around Helmet Mons and things like that, obviously. So we are going to see Cactus Jack come out, which is perfect for us, as we are going to be able to get behind this big substitute right here. He would have been able to pivot in and take a Psychic Fangs pretty decently. Not phenomenally, but especially if I'm a choice variant, he can pivot in and take that decently well enough. And from here, we can just throw off an Ice Fang. Now, he will be able to break my sub if it attacks me. We also have the opportunity to potentially flinch this thing with an Ice Fang or freeze it, but, you know, flinch is the more likely of the two and the less cheesy, but we are unfortunately not going to get it. And the Energy Ball is going to break our sub right here. Now, looking at the calcs, it was a potential roll for me to knock him out with a Psychic Fangs from here, depending on his bulk investment and things like that, and I figured there wasn't really a reason for me to risk that, in the sense that I can just sub up on the Toxapex coming in again. So it was a bit of an unneeded prediction on my end, so I decided to elect to just go for an Ice Fang this upcoming turn, as I think I am kind of looking at that calc right now, as you see the kind of lag right there, and I do just end up going for an Ice Fang. I'm not going to sub up. I don't think he's going to let me into this exchange with the sub. He's going to want to get into something that can immediately pressure me out and immediately kind of, you know, be a nuisance, if that makes any sense. So we're going to be able to knock out that Maractus, which is great, obviously. Yeah, we're going to claim the first KO of the game with this nice sub Dragalges, really putting in work on lead, and a really solid set, showing that, you know, Dragalges, while it's best with his choice variants, it's not a required thing. As the Comfey is going to come out next. And this upcoming turn, I'm actually going to elect to pivot into my Excadrill. As I obviously can take on anything this thing wants to go for. Even Giga Drains aren't going to be doing the most damage in the world unless it's like a Life Orb variant. And if that's the case, I can kind of deal with it accordingly from there. as an Elite Sheet is going to come out. Now, this is going to allow me to just potentially just Rapid Spin this next turn, as to prevent anything from getting health back with Elite Sheet, like a Porygon or anything like that, or getting rid of these seeds if this thing wants to be like really ballsy and like Calm Mind Up or try and sub or something like that. I can get rid of these seeds immediately, and then I can like SD and spin and, you know, things like that, which is obviously really nice. So Rapid Spin is just a nice safe play, and I'm going to be able to, you know, spin these guys away. So we are going to see a hard switch out of the Comfey right here, out into Newt the Porygon 2, which is fine with me. I'm going to be able to Rapid Spin this and get rid of these guys right here, which is great. We're going to do a decent chunk, actually, for a Rapid Spin, showing maybe this thing is a little bit more Spreadef oriented, but the more we can chip this thing down as well, the better. I'm going to elect to go hard into my Conkeldurr. It covers a foul play, so I obviously can't SD in this thing's face. It covers him going for like a weird Trick Room or a Teleport or anything like that. It's going to allow me to proc my Flame Orb. There's a lot of things that this is going to allow me to do. Is we are going to see a Trick Room come off from the Porygon, which is completely fine with me, as my Conkeldurr is pretty darn slow, which is great. So we're going to be able to kind of deal with this thing accordingly and just throw off a big Drain Punch. If Pex wants to come in, I can just Facade it the next turn. Not really have to deal with it. He also has to be wary of me potentially having a Earthquake on my Conk, as Earthquake will just nuke that thing. So that's obviously great for me. I apologize if you hear noise in the back. My little brother has friends over, and they're obviously just kids running around being loud. Unfortunately, a little bit too loud for me to record a YouTube video, but show must go on. This is the time I have to record it. This next turn, he is going to pivot out of his Porygon, I believe, out into Cozy the Comfey, and this is completely fine with me. He's going to take a chunk. I don't care if you're a Fairy type. You don't take Conkeldurr hits because this thing's a monster. We're going to do a clean 32% right here on the Comfey on the switch-in, which is great. It's going to get a little bit of leftovers back. But this thing is most definitely in a Facade range, and I obviously am not going to die to a Leftovers Draining Kiss. I mean, we wouldn't have died to Life Orb either, so there's no reason for me to let this thing Calm Mind Up or Draining Kiss up or anything like that. I'm just going to click the Facade and get my KO, essentially. There's not anything that can realistically pivot into me otherwise. So we're just going to click the button and going to be able to, you know, do a ton of the damage to this thing. If we need to take a Draining Kiss, so be it. Fortunately for us, not unfortunately, he doesn't even go for the Draining Kiss, so that's going to allow us to just outspeed this thing under Trick Room and knock out the Comfey. So I'm not a big Trick Room guy in singles, but I do love when it's set up for me. Which is obviously going to make our Conk a little bit more potent here in this game. But next up, we're going to have Hannibal come in, which is the Marowak. And this thing is a threat. I'm actually going to elect to stay in and Drain Punch this thing the first turn, because I know that it does not OHKO me from here. As strong as this thing is with a Thick Club, there is no OHKO from it, and I don't want to allow it to set up a free SD. And I know, provided I don't get crit, I live, I Drain Punch, and I'm able to get a ton of health back and really, really chip this thing down and put myself in, again, a pretty good position where I can still kind of come in later and deal with, like, P2 and things like that, and, you know, still break sufficiently with my Conk. I don't need full health on it against this team, and I still have Mach Punch in the back for the Zero Aura if it ends up getting out of hand, things like that, as we do see one turn of Trick Room left, which is going to allow me to freely pivot into my Primarina, because even if this thing Swords Dances, I'm completely fine, because I'll be able to outspeed the next turn and get a nice flip turn off, which is great. If it wants Earthquake, I'll guarantee live that as well, as I am Fizz-Def, and if you look at the team that my opponent brought, I actually really don't need my Primarina for a lot in this matchup in particular, because the Hydra and the Garm did not come. So we're going to see an Earthquake pop off right here. It is going to do a chunk. This Mon is a monster, a really cool Mon, in fact. I'd love to try it as like a really low tier Mon, but I'm just going to flip turn out right here. And, you know, force this guy out. If he wants to get under Trick Room again, that would definitely be pretty advantageous for him. Like, Trick Room and a Teleport from the P2 could put him in a pretty solid position with this guy. So I'm going to elect to try and grab some momentum here. I don't think he's going to throw it away. He obviously doesn't know if I have a Water move or anything like that as well. And I believe I'm actually in Torrent range, unless I'm completely tripping, which means we would probably knock this thing out anyways. As right here, he is going to pivot out, go out into Newt the Porygon 2, which is, again, completely fine with me. I am going to flip turn out, gain a little bit of momentum right here, and going to be able to go from there afterwards right here. So this turn, I am just going to go right back out into Conk. That's what I mean. Even though I am low, I can still kind of facilitate myself free switch-ins with like flip turn Prim, or just nice aggressive doubles, or even after, you know, sacrificing something to get a free switch into Conk on something like this P2, on a Pex, something like that, which is great, as I am just going to Drain Punch right here. If he wants to give me this, he can give me this. He can also pivot into Pex, but again, I feel like I can deal with that thing accordingly as of right now. There's not too much that, like, really threatens me on the Pex, if that makes any sense. So we're going to be able to Drain Punch, and we'll get some information if it is Rocky Helmet. If it's Rocky Helmet, I'm a little bit less likely to try and stay in, as it can just kind of recover stall me, and do a bunch of damage, and do a bunch of damage passively with Burn plus Helmet. So 2 turns of burn plus 2 turns of helmet pretty much makes my conk null and void from that point onward. So we're gonna have to be pretty careful about that, as he is definitely switching about thinking about what he wants to switch into right here, which is completely fair, as I believe. Oh geez, I did something bad. My bad, my bad, my bad. Don't laugh at me, don't laugh at me. Okay, so that's where we knocked out the Comfy. Ooh, my bad, yo. Okay, because he's definitely thinking about this play. And then I accidentally pushed something on my keyboard that said no more, Owen. So he is going to Lex switch out in his specs. Perfect. I'm sorry. My bad. My bad. As we are going to see a big Drain Punch pop right here. And we are going to do a clean 20%, which is surprising how much that still does. As we are going to get, you know, a decent amount of health back right here. Go up to 89. But then we are going to take Helmet. And then we are going to take Burn. Showing that this thing is Helmet and the fact that we can't just 1v1 this thing. Now, if we have Earthquake, we could be able to potentially nuke this thing from here. But not really a risk that's worth taking, in my opinion, as I am going to pivot and just kind of sack off my Prim. Again, I don't need it at this point. I can use it to switch in. I could take like a Scald and Burn, and then I could potentially even knock myself out with a Flip Turn. If not, if I'm not in range of Helmet, I would just kind of probably click Moonblast until the end of time. But we're going to look like an absolute demon and catch this Marowak coming in. Again, this is not what I expected to come in. I'd be lying through my teeth during this post-con if I was like, I knew Marowak was going to come in on my Conkeldurr. No, I did not think that. But I was just trying to sack off my my Prim, and it ended up working out great for me, because now I can just grab momentum with a Flip Turn, and I am going to be able to knock out this Hannibal here with said Flip Turn. So again, awarding myself pretty good offensive momentum, really dampening that Trick Room endgame that my opponent could have potentially gone for, or that Trick Room mid game trying to break through my team and things like that. So this next turn, I am going to like to go out into big Sand Tomb Regirock, which is definitely a neat tech right here, as it's actually going to come up really, really clutch in this endgame right here, and you're going to see it's going to be incredibly nice for me, as you're going to see, instead of going into Pex or Porygon, Frostlass is going to make a very good play. He's going to realize this is probably my endgame potential. This is where I set up and try and win the game, and I'm going to go into my Zeraora right here, as I am going to kind of skip ahead to that point. As we do see the Zera come in, and I expect this thing to either be Shuka or Air Balloon or something of the sorts to potentially deal with my my Excadrill, as that was the only switch I really had to Zera. I actually have a terrible Zera matchup in general. As we are going to see a bulk up, attack and defense is going to raise, and I am going to drop the Sand Tomb. Now we do see that it's Shuka, and you would think this is bad, but this would really only be bad if I was an Earthquake variant, because I wouldn't be able to damage this thing sufficiently and put it in range of my Scarf Latios to chip it down afterwards, which is, again, really nice. But because of the residual that Sand Tomb does allow me to grab, I'm going to be able to just kind of spam Sand Tomb at least one more time, really chip this thing down and do the residual, hopefully keep this thing in range of a Lottie Psychic. Now, it doesn't need that much chip to be in range of a Lottie Draco Meteor, right? But it doesn't need that much chip to be in the range of a Lottie Draco Meteor, but it does need a decent amount to be in Psychic, and I'd rather not risk this game on a miss. And I kind of calced assuming this thing was a max HP variant or very bulky. It's kind of hard to tell via the Sand Tomb damage, you know, what this thing is. As I do just throw off a Rock Slide right here, I do see that it does a little bit more than Sand Tomb right now, but the Sand Tomb residual is what's going to be kind of stacking up right here. And I know you saw me hovering over that Prim right there, which does come into play in a little bit here, in the sense that I know this thing might not be close combat, and especially on a bulk up variant with like a Shuka Berry and things like that, it can very easily beat my Excadrill 1v1 with a Drain Punch. And I want to make sure this thing does not gain back enough health in order to get out of range of my Latios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to like to sack off that Prim that I was luckily able to save earlier due to that sick nasty double expecting the Marowak. I'm going to be able to sack it off, because if he wants to go for a Drain Punch here, he's going to take more to Helmet over the next 2 turns than he would you know, getting health back via Drain Punch, if that makes any sense. Because right here at 50%, especially plus Plasma Fist making contact and knocking me out, I'm going to be in an okay spot. From here, I can just kind of spam Moonblast and be in an okay position. No way I click Flip Turn, right? Okay, I was going to say, oh, that's a terrible play, brother. What if he just bulks up under Choke? Then you might actually lose. Actually, no, I don't think I would have. But you know, this is still my safer play, because it covers like a rest or something like that, like a weird last move rest and knockoff. But we are going to see a Plasma Fist come out here. It's going to obviously knock out our Prim here, but this Helmet chip plus the Sand Tomb chip earlier from Regirock is actually going to save our ass in this endgame, as I do not have to risk a Psychic or a Draco Meteor miss. Good lord. On this next turn, I'm just going to be able to go into my Lottie and just off a big Psychic and revenge kill this thing guaranteed. Even if it's a max HP variant, I did a little bit under 50% guaranteed. So that's going to be incredibly clutch for Big Lottie here, as I am going to throw off said Psychic. knock this thing out and put myself in a really good position to win this end game right here, as you're going to see. So we're going to knock out the Zera, really the last big threat to my squad. Down it goes. Yeah, we just have P2 plus Toxapex left. So even something like Regirock can put in a lot of work right here, as you're going to see, and it's going to be a lot of fun here. So we're going to pivot out, or our opponent's going to elect to go into the Porygon. They can't really go into Pex, obviously, because Pex is just going to get nuked. No hazards up, so we definitely don't 2-hit KO this thing from this range. I'm actually going to elect to go into my Regirock in order to kind of Sand Tomb and Thunder Wave and chip this thing down in order to award myself a free switch into something else that can beat it down and bully it, which is kind of the main intent that Emil had behind when he, you know, built this set for me, which is really cool. So the chocolate chip looking Regirock is going to come in right here. Absolutely chew up a Tri-Attack like it's nobody's business. So putting in a ton of work, basically healing it off with leftovers, which is great. And yeah, we're just going to be able to throw off that Sand Tomb, which is pretty fun. Do I Sand Tomb or do I Thunder Wave first? I think, okay, so I do Sand Tomb first. So yeah, we're going to throw that off. And the Toxapex is going to come in, which is great because now we've trapped in the Pex, and this thing's going to start taking a little bit of residual damage. It's going to allow me that free switch into Excadrill in a little bit, which is even better for me, in all honesty, because my Excadrill can come in on a recover turn and then SD for free because we are Lum and we don't have to worry about a Scald Burn, which is, again, absolutely amazing for us. So we are going to, again, while that did no damage initially, we got this thing down to 25. We're going to be able to Thunder Wave this thing this turn, and then we can either throw off Rock Slides and start, like, pair flinching it down a little bit, or again, just continue to rack up residual and force this thing into a recover turn. Now, if we get super lucky, we could potentially just 1v1 this thing, but unluckily, we're not going to, we're not going to risk that, because there's really no reason to kind of stay in and drag this game out longer than it really does need to be, as I believe I do throw off a Rock Slide right here, as I don't think they're guaranteed needed to go for a recover this turn. Even if we do end up getting the flinch, they should be able to go for I recover the turn afterwards, as we do end up getting the flinch, which is great. And at this point, they need to recover because another Rock Slide flinch, I guess another Rock Slide flinch would just kind of lose them the game potentially, but another Rock Slide into Sand Tomb into another Rock Slide would potentially knock this thing out, which is great. But I'm just going to pivot out into my Excadrill, and worst comes to worst, if this thing does end up, what do you call it? Scalding right here, even if we get burned, we're completely fine. I would just rather avoid that entirely, if that makes any sense. Because right here, we are going to see Toxic Spikes come out, which is definitely interesting. Maybe just kind of conceding the game at this point, because there wasn't much my opponent could do to force much progress. As I am going to be able to Swords Dance up this turn, and even if I don't Oko the P2 and it is more Fizz Def than I initially calced this next turn, obviously the P2 will be very, very low and revenging me with a Foul Play. And I can just pick it off with Vish or, what do you call it, Latios, something like that, and be able to put in a little work that way. So the specs is going to be very low. I can just throw off a +2 EQ. We can't pivot out and get regen back or anything like that. Obviously, there's no point. And then we're going to knock this guy out. And then we just have the Porygon too. So this game is all but sealed. Now, talking about like playoff picture, we ended the season 5-4 +1. We had a pretty tough diff, actually. All of our wins were very, very close games. We didn't really smash through anybody. So all of our wins were very close. It meant that we didn't have the greatest differential, and I needed one of like 3 people to lose, right? Just one of 3 people to lose, and we could sneak into playoffs with the 10th seed. Unfortunately, it didn't end up happening, which is really frustrating, right? Because I've been, I don't think it's a secret to anybody, I've been in a pretty bad slump recently. I've been in a pretty brutal slump, in fact, this last, like, you know, since I won BBL, really. I just have not been playing very well on the Wi-Fi scene. I mean, it's great to get a 5-0 win to end the season and, you know, kind of go out on a high note. But it was really frustrating to, you know, claw back to a winning record, do well, and then miss playoffs despite having a positive record. But that's Pokemon. I mean, it was just a well-balanced league. Everybody was doing, you know, decently enough, and I didn't have the differential to make it. Obviously, it's not like, bad system. I just didn't make it, and that's on me. And it sucks, but I'm at least happy that we were able to go out on a high note. We won our last 2 games of the season. We went 5-4. And I'm looking on to, you know, greener and, you know, better pastures, I guess. And, you know, hopefully I'm able to do better in this next batch of leagues that we're playing in. Because obviously we didn't make playoffs in NCP. And then here in PAC, we unfortunately did not make playoffs, which sucks after making semis last season. But what can you do? I'm here to just improve. I want to do better. I want to do better for you guys. And I think we're on the path to that. And I'm ready to get back to, you know, form. Again, I think I'm a top 5, at least top 10 player in the Wi-Fi scene, despite how I've been playing lately, and I'm excited to show you guys why I think that's the case again. But thank you guys for all your support. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm glad we could go out on a high note. Shoutouts to BadassFroslass for the fun game. Definitely go check him out in the description below, as well as all the other coaches. And yeah, thank you guys again. I'll see you guys next time.